let's calibrate a granular spreader.
All right, most granular spreaders are mounted on the front of an airboat in such a case as this here, and the spreader is run by a spinning disc on the bottom, and above that spinning disc is an orifice opening, or an opening in which you can regulate how many granules come down through in a given length of time. We need to know this distance here, in other words our swath width, from here to here, and we can measure that even in the water or next to shore, or we can do it on land, but you got to make sure your settings are going to be the same you're going to use out in the water.
7, 8, 9, 10. Look at that. Okay, this is going to be real easy calibration. That's 600 revolutions per minute on the engine. Margaret was covering that in exactly 1 minute, so it's going to be real easy to calibrate. Now we'll go back and put our swath width together and the granule output per minute, and we'll be able to finish our calibration out here.
Remember, we're dealing with pounds per minute with the granular spreader.
There's several tips that you might use on calibration and the use of the granular spreader in general. Most spreaders have a lever to change the opening on the bottom of the above the spreader itself, and that opening is generally numbered 1 through 10 or 1 through 20. Just because you calibrate, say, on opening number 3 with a particular granule, if you go to opening number 6, that does not mean that you're going to double the output of the spreader. So what you need to do then is check, and it only takes a few minutes with a plastic bag. Get some blanks from the herbicide manufacturer that if you're using a lot of pellets, and determine what that output of the spreader is at 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10 at a certain speed of your apparatus here, and that way you'll be able to know what your output is there at these different settings. So just because a setting doubles doesn't mean you're doubling the output. So I've taped up a plastic bag here, and I'll finish that up right now, and then I'm going to go ahead and do a 30-second run through. And past experience has shown me that if I set this on number 3 with these particular granules, that I should come out pretty close to about 140 pounds per acre. Past experience has shown that, and that's really part of calibration. You need to know your system and keep up with it, and that way you know how much you're putting out, and you have a feel for what's going on. So I've got my bag taped here so I can collect all of the granules that come out of here, and I'll time it for 30 seconds, and then I'll weigh the granules, and I'll know the output of the spreader. And I may have to change it, may have to do this 2 or 3 times, but we'll be all set. So here I go. Okay, now I'll turn the spreader on. This spreader has 3 different speed settings, and oftentimes to keep the dust to a minimum you want to use a relatively low speed setting. Of course that affects your swath width, so you have to measure that too. Alright, let's see how many pounds of material here I've collected. Just a shy, right about 10 pounds, just a shy off 10 pounds. And so probably with a jiggle into the airboat and so forth, we'll be right about 10 pounds in that 30-second interval. So what the output of the granular spreader is then with these granulars, with it set on the 3rd notch, is about 20 pounds then per minute. We know it takes 1 minute to go 209 feet. Our swath width was 30 feet. So how many trips will it take to cover the acre? Divide 209 feet by 30, and it rounds off to 7 trips to cover the acre, and it'll take us 7 minutes. The output of the granular spreader was 20 pounds of granules per minute. To find output per acre, multiply 20 pounds per minute times 7 minutes, and this equals 140 pounds per acre. To apply more than 140 pounds per acre, you can slow the airboat down. For example, if you slow the airboat so it takes you 10 minutes to cover the acre, you'll be putting out 200 pounds of total granules per acre. If you want less granules applied per acre, you can speed up the airboat. To change the amount of granules applied per acre, it's easiest to change the speed of the airboat. If changing the speed of the airboat doesn't work, then you will have to change the spreader setting and reweigh. Remember, if you change the spreader setting, you must again collect the granules to determine your output per minute.
Calibration for a granular spreader is basically the same as it is for a boom and handgun. We had to find swath width, output, and time.